Hi everybody, it's me again, Miss Black. We are now moving on to section 2.3. We have just finished, as far as I'm concerned, our study of trigonometry as angles. We've talked about degrees, minutes, seconds. We've talked about DD, decimal degrees. We've talked about radian measure. We've seen applications of radian measure, why that unit for measuring angles is so important. We've also defined the 6 trig functions, sine, cosine, tangent, and their reciprocals, cosecant, secant, cotangent. And we figured out, according to what information is given, how do we evaluate those functions without a calculator. We've learned how if it's a multiple of 90, your angle, it's a quadrantal angle, you'll look on the unit circle to evaluate that trig function. We've learned if you're given an ordered pair of point, to plot the point, put it in the correct quadrant, draw the right triangle, and evaluate your definition using y over r, x over r, y over x, etc. We have learned that there are special right angles, 30, 45, and 60. And if we know the relationship of the sides of those triangles, we can look up the 6 trig functions for 30 degrees, 45, and 60 degrees just by looking at those special right triangles. We learned if we have an angle bigger than 90, we can make its reference angle. And if its reference angle is 30, 45, or 60, then we can also look that trig function value up. But guys and gals, here's the problem. Not every angle we're going to work with is an angle where we can look up the 6 trig function values using the unit circle or using those special right triangles. Not every angle that's going to be bigger than 90 can have a reference angle that's 30, 45, or 60. So it comes a point in time where in trigonometry we're going to have to rely on your calculator. Now the difference is when I was in school, calculators weren't readily available. I know that's crazy, but they weren't. So that's how you knew who people were that were math geeks, because we all had to carry around our big textbooks. And in the back of the books were all these lists of charts where we were able to find a table of all the trig function values for every single angle. And we would look it up there. Today, you guys don't have to carry around a book. You can just press buttons in your calculator. So this whole lesson today, 2.3, is how to use your calculator to evaluate trig function values when you can't look them up manually. You're going to need your calculator for this whole lesson, so please make sure you have it with you. Again, I'll only be talking about the TI-30X2S and the TI-36 Pro. So if you're using a different calculator, it may not work the same way. Just a heads up. All right, so if you look here, this is the first part of today's lesson I want to work with. I want to evaluate. I'm giving you your trig functions. I'm giving you your angles. And I want out the number value. Seeing we're going to be using the calculator, we're not going to be getting fractions today. The calculator automatically converts fractions to decimals. So the first thing when you evaluate a trig function using your calculator, be ready that your answers are going to be decimals. And they're not always going to be terminating decimals, decimals that stop. So because many of these decimals we get out today are going to be non-terminating, going on forever and ever, you're going to be told in the directions what place valued around. And please pay close attention to that. If you round to the wrong place value, you're going to get marked wrong. Overall, the whole concept here is, again, if I give you a trig function and I give you an angle measurement, I'm looking out for a number, which should be a fractional value, a numerator over denominator, talking about the relationship of the two sides. But because we're going to be using a calculator, the calculator is going to take that fractional value, divide it, and that's why when we use our calculator, we're going to get out decimals. Now, if you look at this first whole column here are all the trig functions, sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent. I got one of each. All these angle measurements are in what units? They're all in some form of degrees. So this is degrees, this is decimal degrees, this is DMS, degrees, minutes, seconds, this is degrees and minutes, that's just minutes, degrees, degrees and minutes, decimal degrees. So the first thing you have to understand is how to use your calculator appropriately. If all of these angle measurements are some form of degrees, whether they're DD or DMS or just good old degrees, you're going to have to put your calculator in degree mode. So before we can even learn how to type these in, we're going to have to learn how to put our calculator in degree mode. Over in this column, if you look, here are your 6 trig functions: sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent. But if you look at the angle measurements, well, these two are obvious. They have a pi in them, so we understand what unit is that. That's radians. But these angle measurements right here, they're numbers. If you do not see a degree symbol, then it's understood to be in radian measure. So to type this in the calculator, we're going to have to be in radian mode. So before we can do anything with our calculators, we have to make sure when we evaluate a trig function, we are in the correct mode, especially when you go to do your homework assignments. You have to pay attention. They're not going to tell you that. You have to know that. Now, the best way to show you how to do this is my technicians did a really great job, and they have it a close-up of the calculator. So you're going to hear me speak, but you're not going to see me because you're going to see me pressing the buttons on the calculator. And I will show you how to use both calculators. First, we're going to get it in degree mode and learn how to type these in. Then we're going to do it in radian mode and type these in. So don't get nervous. I'm about to leave the screen. I'm going to sit down by the calculators. You're going to get a view of the calculators, and I'm going to talk you through this. All right, so let's get going. All right. You should all be able to hear me, and you should all see on this screen the TI-30X2S. I'm going to start with this one. On this calculator, to be in degree mode, you're going to have to go to the first row, second column. DRG is your mode button. And if you hit it, let me turn my calculator on. Right now underlined is degrees. Make sure your degree is underlined and hit enter. You will know you're in degree mode because if you look at the home screen, see down in the bottom corner there, it says DEG. You are in degree mode. Okay. All you have to do is type what you see. So if I want to know the sine of 38 degrees, which is something I could not look up on the unit circle because it's not a multiple of 90. I could not look up on the on our special right triangles because it's not a 30, 60, 90. It's already in quadrant 1. So there's nothing I could do to simplify that. I have to rely on my calculator. It's very simple. All you're going to do is type how you read this. It says sine of 38 degrees. You're going to hit sine. It always puts a parentheses because what's going to go in the parentheses is the angle measurement, and then you're going to type 38 and close it. Because you're in degree mode, you don't need to put the degree symbol. And if you hit enter, here comes your number, your decimal value. Now, it's an irrational number. It's filling up the whole screen. So what you need to know is you need to read your directions. The directions here said round to the nearest 10,000 spot. That's 4 places behind the decimal point. So if you look, if we go 1, 2, 3, 4 places, we have a 6. Behind it is a 6. Well, that means that would round out to 7. So the sine of 38 degrees is 6,157 10,000ths. And that's what you'd write, that decimal. What I want you to do is recall, 38 degrees is in what quadrant? Hey, that's quadrant 1. Sine values are positive in quadrant 1. Did you get at a positive decimal? You sure did. Okay, now if you look in your notes that you're following along, again, when they ask for the answer, it's a rounded answer. So in the notes, that's why I'm using the squigglies that mean approximate. I rounded it. All righty? Now, that was really simple, right? Let's take the TI-36 Pro and put that on there and show you how to do it on there. So let me clear out. All right, here's the TI-36 Pro. And again, the first thing you have to do in the Pro is you have to make sure you're in degree mode. So in the first row, you have a mode button. And if you look, highlighted up there blinking is degrees. That's what you want highlighted. So that's highlighted, so I'm going to hit equals or enter to save it. Okay, and then I'm going to get out of here. Now to get out of this window, you see the button second, and you see above it in blue quit. That's why that button is colored. It matches that word. So to get out of the screen, now that I saved it by hitting enter, I'm going to hit second quit. And again, I know I'm in degree mode. Look at the Pro. Up in the top right, it says DEG. And you're going to do in the Pro exactly what we did in our other calculator. We're going to go to our sign button. So let me just widen out here a little bit. Okay, we're going to go, right here is our sign button. We're going to hit sign. It puts a parentheses. We're going to type 38 and close it and hit enter. And we get out the same decimal. It's very simple. You just got to know how to use your calculator. Everybody's good? All right. Let's try the next one. It's the cosine of it's the cosine of 38.7 degrees. So what are we going to hit first? Now, let me state this. Once your calculator is in degree mode, it will stay in degree mode till you change it. So if you look, I know I'm in degree mode. It's written there. I'm just going to hit the button, cosine. I'm going to type 38.7 and close it. Again, I don't need the degree symbol because I'm in degree mode, and hit enter. And then I'm going to round that decimal to the nearest 10,000th. So that digit 4 would stay a 4. So this is 7,804 10,000ths. All right, let me clear out. Let's go to C. Now C is a little different. It's the tangent of 38 degrees, 7 minutes, 29 seconds. So that's in DMS form. We already learned from the previous chapter how to type DMS. So you'll hit tangent, you'll type 38, but now you'll have to go get your degree symbol. On the TI-30, you're going to have to hit your button there, get your degree symbol, hit enter. Then you're going to have to type 7, go back to that button to get your minutes, arrow over, get your minutes. And then you're going to hit 29, go back to that button again, and arrow over twice to get your seconds. And close. Always close your parentheses. So now you have in that calculator the tangent of 38 degrees, 7 minutes, 29 seconds. We hit enter. There's our decimal. We're going to round it to the nearest 10,000th. So that 7 is going to round up to an 8. On the Pro, let's just go over how to use the Pro for that. So if you have your Pro, same thing. We're going to hit our tangent. Let me widen out so you can see the buttons. Okay, we're going to widen out to tangent. We're going to type 38. But for you to guys get the degree symbol, remember we're going to use the button math. We're going to arrow over to DMS. And we're going to arrow, we got degrees, so we hit enter. It's highlight. Then we want 7. We go to math. We arrow over to DMS, but to get minutes, we have to arrow down 1 to minutes. Then we want 29. We go to math. We arrow over to DMS, and we go down 2 for seconds. And we close it. And if you look and hit enter, you get out the same decimal value. Pretty easy, right, ladies and gentlemen? Wonderful. All right, let's go to D. So the difference with D is the angle's negative. So first we're going to hit sign. Now, it's important in your calculator you know there's 2 different negative symbols in your calculator. On the TI-30X2S, you have the subtraction negative and you have the baby negative. When we start out a number that's negative, we're doing the baby negative. If you use the subtraction negative, you would be marked wrong. You only use that button when you have a number in front and a number behind. So because this angle's negative, I'm going to hit the baby negative. It puts the baby negative on the screen. 348, I'm going to go get my degree symbol. 15, I'm going to go get my minute symbol. I'm going to close it and hit enter. And there is my decimal value. Everybody's okay? All right, on the Pro. The Pro also has 2 negatives. If you look, you have your subtraction button right here, and then your baby negative is all the way down here. So again, when we're talking about angle measurements, and we want that baby negative, that's the one we want. So again, we're going to type sign, baby negative, 348. In the Pro, we go to math, arrow over to DMS, hit equals for the degrees. 15, go to math, arrow over to DMS, arrow down for minutes. Make sure you close the angle, hit equals. There's the same exact decimal. Everybody's good? Awesome. If you look at choice E, example E only has the angle measured in minutes. Now this is a problem. You cannot use DMS form and just put minutes in. So if you only have negative 15 minutes, that means how many degrees was there? Well, that means there's no whole degrees, which means you're going to have to put in zeros for degrees. So we'll go to cosine. We'll put the baby negative, because the baby negative goes in the very beginning. You cannot just type minutes in. You have to say there are no degrees. And then you could type in the 15 minutes. If you don't put in the degrees as 0 and you just put in the minutes, you're going to get a syntax error. And there's your decimal. Everybody's good? All right. In the pro, again, hit your cosine button. It's labeled right there, cosine. You put your baby negative, which is all the way at the bottom. There are no degrees, so you type 0. Then you go to math, you arrow to DMS, you hit equals for your degree symbol. Then you type 15, you go to math, you arrow to DMS, you arrow down for your minute symbol, and close it. For both of these, it's said to round to the nearest 10,000th, which is 4 positions. So everybody look, there's a 9 in that 4th position, but behind it is a 9. So what happens is this 9 rounds up to 10. Well, you can't put a 10 there, so you put a 0, you carry a 1. Well, that'll become a 10. You put a 0, you carry a 1. That'll become a 10. You put a 0, you carry a 1. That'll become a 10. You put a 0, you carry a 1. So this rounds to 1 and 0 10,000s. 0, 0, 0, 0, 10,000s. So far, so good? Awesome. Now here comes the problem. Now let's do the 3 reciprocal functions. Well, sweeties, if you look very closely on both calculators, the TI-30 has a sine button, a cosine button, a tangent button. That is it. On the Pro, there is a sine button, a cosine button, a tangent button. That is it. There are no buttons for cosecant, secant, or cotangent. So what we have to do is teach you now what to do. You're going to have to do one extra step. Okay, because you don't have a button for cosecant, you're going to have to use its buddy, its reciprocal. Which function is the reciprocal of cosecant? Very good, it's sine. So we can't type in cosecant because we don't have a button, but we have its buddy, sine. So we're going to type sine, and we're going to put 56 degrees. Now remember, we don't need to put the degree symbol. We're in degree mode. We're going to hit equals. This decimal you see here would be the decimal value, the fractional value, if we were doing sine. But I didn't want sine. I wanted cosecant. Well, again, from the beginning of the course, what is the relationship between sine and cosecant? They are reciprocals of each other. What does the word reciprocal mean to do? It means to flip a fraction. So let me go up to the board for a minute. So here's going to be the problem. You understand if something was in fraction form, what a reciprocal means. So if I had the fraction 2/3, you guys all understand I need the reciprocal of that to be cosecant, so that would be 3/2. You'd move the location. But now the calculator is not giving us out a fraction, it's giving us out a decimal. So we just got out, I'm just going to cut that decimal off. It's approximately 8/10. If this is 8/10, the reciprocal of that would be 1/8/10. So what's going to happen is we're going to have to teach the calculator how to take that decimal we just got out, that 8/10, that long irrational number, and do 1 divided by it. Now, instead of us having to tell the calculator to do 1 divided by that big long decimal and type it in, there's a button. you have a button on your calculator that automatically makes the calculator do the reciprocal of any number. So I'm going to sit down and show you where that button is. All right, so on the TI-30, your reciprocal button is right underneath the word sign. You see where it says x to the -1? That's the reciprocal button. I don't know how much algebra you remember, but if from Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, you should remember, you can't write a variable with a negative exponent. So to make that exponent positive, if I wanted that to be an exponent of 1, I'd flip x. I'd do the reciprocal of x, which is 1 over x. So we use the -1 exponent to mean to flip reciprocal. So you see how that big long decimal's in there? That long decimal was for the sine of 56 degrees. Now I want the cosecant value. So I want the calculator to flip this decimal and do 1 divided by it. All I have to do is hit this -1 button. So it says take that answer we just got out, that decimal, and flip it. That's what the -1 means, to flip it. And if I hit equals, that is the correct value for cosecant of 56 degrees. It's 1.206217949. So that's all you need to do. Once you get your value out, because you're doing a reciprocal, you need to hit the reciprocal button to flip it. Okay? Let's look at the pro. On the pro, again, there are no buttons for the reciprocals. There is no cosecant button down here. So the reciprocal of cosecant is sine. So I'm going to do the sine of 56 degrees. I'm in degree mode, so I don't need the degree symbol. I'm going to hit enter. See that decimal? The 8/10? I need the calculator to flip that. On the pro, the reciprocal button is in the first column. It's right here. It's got the X with the little box. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Okay. Does everybody see that? That's the reciprocal button, the X with the box. So, what we're going to do is once we get that decimal in and we want to do the reciprocal of it, we're going to hit that button. It's going to say answer. Now, I put this crazy symbol, a caret. That caret is an exponent symbol. You want to put behind that the exponent -1, because that's what the -1 does. A -1 exponent flips it. So I'm going to put open parentheses, baby -1, and close it. And that will tell the calculator, take this decimal and do the reciprocal. And did we get the same decimal a minute ago? We sure did. So all you got to remember, guys, is if you're working with the reciprocal functions, there's no buttons for them. You're going to have to get an answer and then flip it using your new button, the reciprocal button. All right? Let me wind him back out. All right, so let's do the next one. The next one is the secant. Do we have a secant button? Heck no. All we have is sine, cosine, and tangent. Well, which function is the reciprocal of secant? Good, it's cosine, so we hit cosine. We type in 56. Now we're going to put the degree symbol because we have minutes. So I'm going to go get my degree symbol. Then I'm going to type 45 and go get my minutes. And close it. Make sure you always close the angle. All right, so I'm going to hit equals. And that will give me the decimal if the function was cosine. The function wasn't cosine, it was secant, so let's flip that. So on the 30, the reciprocal button is right here. It's x to the -1. All you got to do is hit it. It puts that -1 exponent there. You hit enter. There's your correct answer. Let's do it at the pro. On the pro, again, there is no button for secant, so who's its reciprocal? Cosine. We're going to get 56. We're going to do degrees. We're going to do 45. Get our minutes. Close it. When we hit enter, that is the value of the cosine. I don't want cosine. I want secant. So now I got to go get my reciprocal button. On the pro, the reciprocal button's right there, that little X with a box. I hit it, and then I type parentheses, little -1. And there we go, the same decimal value. So I think I did enough examples that you could follow along to understand how to use your calculator if your angles are in degrees. So let me go back to the board. But look here. I want to type all these in the calculator. They are not in degrees. They are all listed in radians. Again, remember, this is not degrees. There's no degree symbol, so that's understood to be radians. Radian is an angle measurement. That's a number. There is no sense in having to take all of these angles, change them to degrees. That's a waste of time if you have calculators. Why not just put your calculator in radian mode? So now I'm going to show you how to put your calculator in radian mode and type these guys in. All right, so let's go and do that. All right, so let's get out the TI-30X again. So look, right now I know I'm in degree mode. It says DEG. Well, I'm going to change it to radians. The same button that put us in degrees puts us in radians. You go on the TI-30 to the DRG, and I want to arrow over to the right to RAD, which stands for radians. You're going to have to hit enter, and now look, it says RAD. Very simple. On the Pro, right now I know I'm in degree mode. There it is. I want to be in radians. So on the Pro, you go to the button that says mode here. You want to arrow over to the right to radians, hit enter so it highlights it. Okay, you got to have it highlighted. Now to get out of here, you want to get out of this, you're going to hit second quit. And we're out. It's RAD. We're in radian mode. Once we're in radian mode, we could do any trig function that has an angle that's in radians. So, 2a, I want to do the sine of 3 pi over 5. You type exactly as you read it. You hit the sine button. You type 3. You go get your pi button. On the Pro, the pi button's right there. You do divided by the division symbol, 5, and close it. And there's your answer in the Pro in radians. Okay? So when we type in radians, there's our answer as a decimal. If I use the 30, same thing. I'm in radian mode. I type sine. Let me zoom out. So I type sine. I do 3. I go get my pi button, which is right there. Divide it by 5 and close it. It equals the same decimal. Again, because when you evaluate a trig function, I'm giving you an angle, it's spitting out a number. That decimal number it's spitting out, they're going to ask you to round it to the appropriate place value. That's all you have to do. Really simple, right? So, it doesn't matter which calculator we're using, it's the same steps. To do cosine, I'd hit cosine. I type in that decimal, 6,109 10,000ths. That's an angle measurement in radians. Hit equals. There's my value. Pretty simple, right? Tangent. Tangent. 4n 203 10,000ths. Close it. Hit equals. And then just round. So the problem's going to come with the last 3, the reciprocals. You don't have to learn anything new. You're going to apply what we just taught you. When you're evaluating a trig function that doesn't have a button, cosecant, secant, and cotangent, you're going to have to use its buddy, its reciprocal. So to do cosecant, what function are we going to use? We're going to use sine. So we'll hit sine. We'll type in 8 pi divided by 7 and close it. That decimal you see right now on the screen, that 4/10, that negative 4/10, if there's a negative there, that is the value of sine. Well, we know sine and cosecant are related because they're reciprocals of each other. So all we have to do on the 30 is tell the calculator to flip that decimal. Do 1 divided by it. We don't have to type that manually. We just need to know our reciprocal button. On the 30, the reciprocal button is right here. It's x to the negative 1. So I just hit that. It puts the negative 1 exponent. I hit equals, and there is my cosecant value. Let's do it on the Pro. On the Pro, same thing. There is no cosecant button. I hit its reciprocal sign. I type 8. I type pi divided by 7 and close it. Hit equals. There's that same decimal, but that decimal belongs to the sign function. Cosecant is the reciprocal. So if you look at the Pro, on the reciprocal button is right down here. It's that X with a box. And then I need to type in the exponent, baby negative 1. And I always put my exponent in parentheses. Always. Hit equals. There's the same decimal value. See how easy that is? Let's do F. Let's do one more. So if I want to find the value of cotangent of 3n 8,426 10,000ths, first thing I got to look and say, okay, I have a trig function. What's behind it is always an angle measure. That angle, I don't see a degree symbol. Oh, it must be radians, which means my calculator's got to be in what mode? It must be in radian mode. Let's check. Yep, I'm in radian mode. That's the most important thing. Before you start typing, look at your angle and make sure your calculator's in the same mode as your angle measurement. Now, there is no button for cotangent. Who is related to cotangent? Oh, that's tangent. So I'll come over here and hit my tangent button. I will type the 3n 8,426 10,000ths. That's an angle measurement. I'll hit equals. I don't want that decimal because that's the decimal that goes with tangent. I want the decimal that goes with cotangent. So I need to flip that decimal. That's doing the reciprocal. Again, on the Pro, the reciprocal button's right here, that X with the box, and then I'm going to put open parentheses, baby negative 1. The exponent negative 1 tells the calculator I'm flipping the fraction. And there's your decimal value. So, the moral of the story is, make sure before you start typing, you check your mode. In our next video, we're going to find out what happens if I don't give you the angle. What happens if I give you the decimal number and I want the angle? Well, believe it or not, the calculator can work backwards. I'll see you in the next video.